In Activity 9, Shades of Color, students demonstrate that they can create almost any color by combining the primary colors in various proportions and concentrations. They first predict and observe the results of mixing unequal amounts of pigments, then discover how diluting a mixture with water affects the shade of the mixture, and finally attempt to explain what they observe in terms of the color mixing processes they have already seen. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 9, Color Wheel from Activity 2, Colored Water from Activity 2, toothpicks, mixing trays, dropper bottles, blue, red, and yellow food coloring, and the Color and Light video. You will also need to provide white paper towels and tap water. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 9 for each student. Fill the empty dropper bottles with plain tap water, snap the tips in place, and screw on the caps. Each team will need 3 bottles of colored water, red, blue, and yellow, 1 bottle of plain tap water, 30 toothpicks, 2 mixing trays, and several white paper towels. To begin the activity, remind students of their earlier experiments with mixing pigments. Ask, how many different colors can I make by mixing red, blue, and yellow? Students should recall that blue, red, and yellow are the primary colors, and that mixing any 2 primary colors will result in either green, orange, or violet. They should also know that mixing all 3 will make black. Next, ask students what will happen if I mix 3 drops of blue water with 3 drops of yellow water. The students should remember that combining blue and yellow pigments makes green. Then ask, what do you think would happen if I mixed 4 drops of blue with 2 drops of yellow? Or 2 drops of blue with 4 drops of yellow? Some students may guess correctly that the results will still be green, but they will be slightly different shades of green. Inform students that in this activity they will mix different colors, as they did in Activity 2. This time, however, they will see what happens when they mix different amounts of different colors and mix plain water with colors. Show Part 2 of the Color and Light video either now or at the end of the activity. Next, divide the class into teams of 4. Give each student a copy of Activity Sheet 9 and his or her color wheel, and distribute the materials. Review the instructions on the activity sheet with students, then have them begin their color testing investigations. Remind students to use a clean toothpick for every new color combination and to wipe the wells of the mixing trays clean with paper towels before mixing a new batch of colors in the wells. Encourage students to plan their combinations beforehand and record their predictions, as well as their results on their activity sheets. After everyone has finished predicting, mixing, and recording results, let students know that a proportion is a relationship between quantities, the amount of one thing compared with the amount of another. Ask students, did changing the proportions of the colors you mixed change the color of the result? Students should see that altering the proportions of colors should yield a different shade. Next, ask students, what happened when you mixed plain water with colored water? Students may say that the color got fainter, lighter, or paler. Explain that concentration is how much of something there is in a certain space. Inform students that each bottle of colored water has certain concentration of pigment in it, and the plain water has no pigment. Therefore, adding plain water to colored water reduces the concentration of pigment, or spreads the particles of pigment farther apart. Then ask, what effect do you think reducing the concentration of pigment would have on light entering the water? Help students understand that if the particles of pigment are farther apart from one another, then light is less likely to be absorbed by the pigments. More white light is reflected back without having had any colors absorbed out of it, so the color looks lighter. Finally, ask students, were you able to make new colors by changing the concentration and proportion of the primary colors? The students should find that they expanded the range of colors they could make just by mixing blue, red, and yellow. But they should also find that there are many colors and shades of colors that they cannot make simply by mixing colored water. To conclude the activity, collect the students' color wheels and store them until they are needed again in Activity 12. Discard the used toothpicks. Empty and rinse all the bottles and mixing trays. Return them along with the food coloring and the video to the kit. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.